will have to be monitoring it. I know I hacked up that word. Today we're going to be talking about the Coleman Camp Stove. I was gifted this last Christmas from my in-laws, Bill and Brenda. The cool thing is this thing packs down to about 13 by 13 by 3 inches. So you can see it's nice and compact. It's nice to have the box to go along with it. Putting it together, easy peasy. Got a little tab right there that you undo, another tab on the front on the bottom, and then pops right on open like that. And you can see that the bottom folds down. There are tabs that you will have to put in. They go in pretty easily. And then once the bottom is in, that tab that you used to unlock it, put it back, locks the bottom in. Now, for the top, you go in the same kind of tabs. You'd want to hold on to the handle and lock it in. Ideally, you want to be centered on top of one of the burners. And when it's open, it's pretty much, you could use a 10-inch by 10-inch pan. Preferably, we use an 8x8. It just gives you a little bit more room to move stuff around in. And when you're cooking with it, the rack we prefer to use is on the middle setting. We've seen other videos where people put a ray on the bottom and they burn everything. Ideally, you'd want to have your stove already lit, just like that. Put it on there, and it's pretty easy to operate. To open it up, you just turn right clockwise. Opens up, turn the other way, it locks it. In about a few minutes, you can see that the temperature will be going up. And I've had it where we've done like cinnamon buns and it gets a little too hot. You just have to play around with the knob here. And what happens is you can't just set it and forget it, but you basically have to babysit it, which is the unfortunate thing about this stove, because it will run hot. And I found that if it gets too hot, it runs about 20-25 degrees too hot. And if it gets too hot for you, just open it up for a minute or two, let that heat come out, and lock it back in, and you should be pretty much dialed in for what you want.
Okay, so you may have seen him explain this stove and wondered, what does that have to do with a site that is focused on traveling with the pets? And that's a fair question. Number one, I would like to argue that we are an outdoor travel with pet site, so anything outdoor travel helps us. But there's also situations where you may want to make something for your pets, whether it's making your own homemade food, which this can facilitate for those who like to do that, or making your own dog treats, and that's what we're going to do today. I actually have a recipe to share with you guys. Now, this recipe is very simple. All it uses is a flour of some form. Now, I have quick oats here, and we're going to make our own oat flour. I'll show you that in a second. Shredded carrot, a single egg, and canned pumpkin. Make sure it is pure pumpkin, not pumpkin pie filling. That has spices that aren't good for your dog. So pure pumpkin. Now, I had mentioned that I am going to explain how this becomes flour. As we've explained in some other videos, our girl Dav has a bit of a sensitive stomach. She does well with some things, she doesn't with others. If you have a dog that is sensitive to wheats and may have a problem with a whole wheat flour or a white flour of some form, what you can do is actually take these quick oats and blend them, and it will break them down into a flour substance. How am I going to blend them at camp? Valid question, especially because we don't camp with electricity. Let me introduce you to the blend jet. Now this was gifted to me by the company, and I am so glad they did because it is such a help when we're out here and we want to do something like this. This charges by USB, and it is literally a portable personal blender. So I can do everything right here without the need for electricity. That being said, let's get started. Okay, so now that we slow this down again for 1 second, I just want to show you, as you see, I ran it through the blender and those little oats became a flour consistency. So you need 1 cup of your flour, whatever that flour may be, 3/4 of a cup of the pumpkin, 1/4 of a cup of carrot, and 1 egg. Let's go to the next step. Now, because of the consistency, we will occasionally have to mix it a little bit. It is just a little personal blender, and this is a pretty thick recipe. But as you can see, I'm really just using a knife and mixing it up in here a little bit, and then I'll run the blender again. For the end of this, I find that it's just easiest to mix it with hands. It, like I said, is a bit of a thick dough. It's not like there's anything gross here that's gonna, gross you out. It also makes it easier to form the little balls that will be the treats later. Always good to have an assistant on hand. Alright, so as you can see, we've rolled them into little balls. They now go into the oven at 350 for 30 to 35 minutes. So here we go, time's up. There we have it. Dog treats, they're absolutely going to love. And they become these little round balls. They're warm, but they're not super hot, so we're good. These little crisp round balls that have pumpkin, carrot benefits. So carrot is obviously great for your dog's eyes. It's the same as people. We always encourage people to feed carrots anyway. But it is packed with vitamins and nutrients. But the real winner in these treats is the pumpkin, because when you're out camping, especially if you have a reactive dog or an anxious dog, they may get worked out, causing their stomach to get worked out. And what a lot of people don't realize is that pumpkin is absolutely amazing for their digestive system. It helps to make sure they go to the bathroom on time. It helps to settle their stomachs and just make everything better. So if your dog tends to be one that gets a little worked up or has a bit of a problem in that sense, these treats are a gold mine. Pumpkin carrot dog treats.
And we put them in the cooler so they would cool down a little bit, but after they've cooled down, some puppies get to enjoy something special. Just I wish you, I don't make her sit because she's getting a little older. And you're being a good boy sitting. Excuse me, you want to sit? Thank you. And they love them. If you try them out with your pups, let us know what they think. Oh, even baby girl's coming for more.